We all experience challenging and difficult situations in life. In the face of these complexities, it is not always clear how to respond, what to do, or what to avoid. It's easy to get stuck in these moments and stop moving forward in life. Wholeness with Naomi is a program that explores our experiences with such encounters and provides tools and strategies that can enable anyone facing these hardships to continue walking their path in life. We can't wait to meet you on this journey. Tune in, your life is about to change for the better. Welcome to our program, Wholeness with Naomi, where we talk about different and sometimes difficult situations that we may find ourselves in. More importantly, we talk about the tools that you can use to navigate during these difficult and different parts that you may be in. Healing is not a straight line. It's different for each person. But what is involved in that journey is the intentionality of wanting to be able to walk in it. But what is it that enables one to be able to walk in it? It's awareness, the knowledge and understanding of what is it that I'm healing from? What is it that happened in the past that I need to be able to walk through and also come to a place of healing? Joining us on the program today is Lindsey. Welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me, Naomi. It's such a pleasure to be here.
Thank you. Today we're talking about the subject of healing. And I also want to understand rather, what is it that led you to come to the place where you wanted to walk in the healing journey? What is it that happened in the past for you?
Oof, that's a very heavy question. Way to start. What's your name? Okay, so I was a high functioning, high achieving, productive, depressed person.
Okay.
Right. So I was very active in the corporate world, doing well, telling corporate stories. I'm a communication strategist.
Okay.
And church, I was serving, I was a leader, I was helping people. But there were days I couldn't just wake up.
Okay.
Things would be so difficult. I wouldn't open my curtains. I would just have periods of darkness.
Okay. And
so I knew something was wrong, but I wasn't willing to face it. I had coping mechanisms that I'd put in place. When things were difficult, I would binge watch a show. So I would live in other people's stories through television, or I would binge read novels, like for 3 days, not even going out, talking to people, looking for people, nothing. Would just spend time with myself and just become so recluse. I also had moments of escaping my life by helping people.
Okay.
So I wasn't doing it out of they need my help. I was doing it out of this is the crutch that I need in order to maintain sanity.
Okay.
So that's basically some of what I used to do. I used to also have moments of just closing myself in, like people would text me, I wouldn't respond. People would look for me, I wouldn't respond. Clients would even ask for quotations, I wouldn't respond. So there were just days I was underwater.
Okay.
And so what happened was around November last year, I broke my leg.
Okay.
I think it was the 27th of November. I had a hairline fracture, but I didn't know it. I fell, so I thought, my leg is all right. It'll heal, so I was just home medicating. And then it didn't heal. On the 10th of December, I went to the hospital. They told me my leg was broken. They put some braces, and I went back home, so I was bedridden for a little bit, and that made it worse. So the whole of December, the whole of January, I'm stuck in the house. And because I live alone, my sisters would visit me and come see me. But the bulk of the time, I wasn't getting out. I was by myself, which exacerbated the situation that was already there. It's not that I wasn't happy. I can't explain the difference between having depression and being unhappy.
Okay.
Because I had a lot of happy moments. I would meet up with people, would laugh, would have so much fun. But the Bible says something so interesting for me. It says that He restores my soul.
Okay.
Because you can have a thriving spirit and a thriving body, but your soul is struggling. And that's something that we don't really talk about in the church, is to say, how do you keep your soul happy? Jesus said, what good is it to gain the world but lose your soul?
Okay.
And so there is the opportunity to lose your soul. Your soul is your mind, your will, and your emotions. Your mind is where you think up everything that you want to do, the creative engine that makes up everything that has to do with your life. And your will is what gives you choice. You have the will to do something. God works in us to will and to do, but you have to have that will. He gives us free will to choose certain things. And then your emotions are the passion, what drives you every day to wake up, to be, to have life. It has to come from somewhere. There has to be an emotional place where you're healthy in your emotions to want to live every day.
Okay.
And my soul was sick.
You said at some point you found yourself not being able to wake up from bed. But on the surface, what people would see is a very high-functioning person who would produce results.
Very productive.
But you'd find a bit of soothing when you'd now reach out to help other people. But on the core, on the surface, there were issues that you yourself were struggling in. And it's something that you did not realize in the moment, but only after experiencing moments where you are finding it hard to get out of bed and the leg injury didn't help it in any way, because that is where you realize that something is actually not okay.
Yeah, I think the leg injury was from God. It was like, slow down.
Okay.
And take time to examine yourself, because you're not doing well. You're doing well to the outside world and sometimes even to yourself, but there are areas in your life that you're not addressing. And we kind of bury those areas. We put them somewhere where we don't visit. It's like, that closet in your house that you never open the door to, but all the clothes are in disarray. There's a mess in that door, but you don't open that door. And so that was my life. I had areas that were nice and cozy, beautifully painted, beautiful deco, but there was that door that I wasn't opening. I wasn't opening for myself or for someone else. I wasn't even talking about it.
What was behind the closet?
Behind the closet? I think mostly disappointment in myself.
Okay.
Right? Because I feel as a high-performing person, you have expectations in every area of your life. Then if there are areas that are lagging or that you feel like you haven't done too well, you get disappointed, but you don't confront them. You just hide them away. So you don't lead with those in conversation. You put them away. You lead with, I don't know, oh yeah, I just won this, I just did that, I got this fellowship, I went there. But you don't lead with the fact that I'm worried about this. I have an anxiety about this. And the truth of the matter is, I had a lot of anxieties, I think, because of the season of my life that I'm in. I'm about to exit my 30s as well. So you've got different types of anxieties. You're looking at achievements. This is where most people have middle life crisis, because you're looking at, what have I achieved? What have I done with the time that I've been given? And so I didn't really pay attention to that. I put it aside, but that wasn't healthy, because when it surfaced with a lot of trauma, a lot of baggage.
Is there maybe something that you could point out, maybe from your childhood, that could have led you to this place? Like, it sounds like to me, yes, you're talking about being a high performer. Did it start in your adulthood, or there are places in your childhood that you also saw this and it later grew into that place as an adult, where now it's, I have to perform, I have to do this, I have to do that? Is there something in your childhood that you can actually point and say, this did cause that?
Not a particular trauma per se, but what I think is, having always been the person who wanted to be high achieving, not that anyone said you must, but wanting to make your parents proud, wanting to make your family proud. But what I can trace from my childhood is the coping mechanisms.
Okay.
Because from the day that I was born, I was a self-soothing person, because I started sucking my thumb. So I've always tried to find ways of soothing. I'm very highly sensitive, so soothing myself through methods that I feel can help. So I would suck my thumb, and my parents did go to war with that for a while until they were like, you know what?
I did the same for my children as well.
We're not going to win this war. We're probably not going to win this war. So they left it, but I would find ways to escape.
Okay.
I had a high imagination, so I would sit on my heel, I would put my thumb in my mouth, and I would escape. I had high imagination, so I'd start thinking about Captain Planet and I am the sidekick or someone, and just go into worlds that were not what I was facing at that moment. So I think a lot of us can relate that my dad was probably one of the first who were in the city. So all the relatives would come and, they'd say, hey, we've got somewhere to land.
Yes.
And I was a middle child to make matters with. So I'd go unnoticed a lot because we were a lot. We were a lot of us. And so because of that, I would create moments in my own worlds that I am the main character. So escapism started a very long time ago. It started when I was a baby. Then carrying it over, because when you're a kid, it makes sense, you're trying to cope. But then when you become an adult, when you use escapism methods to hold you up, it becomes an issue because you're not dealing directly with what you're going through. You're burying it somewhere. You're just avoiding something that can't be avoided. You're evading the truth. The truth is there's an issue. So if you don't face it, it doesn't mean it will go away. It just means it will compound. Tomorrow there's another issue, you put it on top of the issue from yesterday. Then the next week there's another issue, you put it on top of that one until it's too much to contain. And you end up having episodes of depression and you don't know where it comes from. Yeah.
Thank you so much for that sharing. Viewers, let's take a short break. Do join me in the next segment. Thank you. So how did you realize that I'm actually struggling? You indicated that your leg had broken at some point, and this was more like a difficult time for you. Was that the time that you realized that, you know what, I'm actually not okay?
I think it was a little bit before that. I think the struggle that we face as people of faith is that let the weak say, I am strong. So you encourage yourself every morning and you say, I'm fine. And yet you're not. And you don't want to seem like the person who's not full of faith, so to speak. But if you're sick, like this is an illness in your soul, you haven't dealt with what's wrong with you. I was not well inside. My mind was having struggles trying to simulate the promises of God and my actual life. The areas I pushed myself so far, fasting, praying, seeking counsel, looking for the Lord. One of them is actually marriage, I'm a late bride, or I'm not even a bride yet. I'm just a single girl in the church. And I would say, Lord, I serve you, I pray.
I'm doing everything
right. But where is the Boaz that's promised in the word? And the areas that I would be like, I've done enough work in this area, but I don't see the return. Are you still God? And so when that is happening in your mind, and yet you're now battling, you're saying, but the Spirit man says, but we're strong. So it's like having two people in you, and I understand what Paul was saying when he says the flesh and the spirit, they fight. They'll be fighting because the truth is fighting to say we are here, the facts, we are here, and the truth is saying no, but we're here. And you don't want to seem like the person who's not full of faith, so you don't tell anyone that this is the struggle that I'm going through. I'm a believer, I'm strong in the word, but I'm sick in my spirit.
I like the fact of that but, and I'm going to share a little bit about it. I think what you're sharing is also something that is also not too far from me. There was a season in my life where I was really struggling, but because I'm a believer, I would say, you know what, I'm not feeling too well today, but, and I would affirm myself with the scripture, which is right? That's what we're supposed to do.
Yeah.
But I was drawn to the book of Lamentations, which talks about lamenting before God. And I remember someone posted me and said, what if that but, you don't allow that but to speak that scripture? There is a point where you speak it, but what if you allow yourself to sit in what you're feeling? Is it grief that you're experiencing? Is it disappointment? Can you sit in it? Can you even go before God and say, you know what, I'm disappointed right now. I'm not really feeling it today, I'm not feeling like getting out of bed.
Yeah.
And that was a turning point for me.
We are quite similar, because what happened was I was sitting on my bed, broken leg, and I was watching a show by Tim Markey. He was talking about Psalms and how David would write his Psalms. And he said something about how David allowed the evil in his life to have airplay. Says, how is it that he can say that my son has betrayed me in a psalm? And where does it change? What moment does it become praise? And it got me thinking that I'm not being honest before the Lord, because I am going before the Lord saying what I think he wants to hear and not what I am feeling. Because there were times when I was weeping, and then next thing when I'm praying, I'm like, I love you, God. And I'm not lamenting, which is an art that has been lost in the church, is to take time to be honest about where you are with God. He's your Father, He knows. He knows everything. So I went before the Lord and I said, if we don't get honest here, one of us is going to die. You die out of my heart, or I'll die out of yours. Something will happen. There will be a divorce somewhere, because we really need to be honest with each other. So I started to write. I started to write to him, started to write to myself. And I know I've read people talking about journaling. I've heard people talking about journaling. I always thought it was some pretty way of just putting words to paper in a poetic way. But this was my opportunity to list everything that was in my heart to the Lord. I started to tell him the things that I'd never told anyone, not even him. I'd never gone before him that bare. I would just say, I'm disappointed in you. How many years have I sowed seed, loved you, worshipped you, served you, and yet my life doesn't reflect your love? Where is your love? Where is the return for my investment? Are you still God? Are you still all-knowing, all-able? Or do you have certain people that you don't do stuff for? And in so doing, I opened myself to the Holy Spirit, because he then started to work from my very early stages of my life. Like I said, I was a middle child. I didn't know that I learned to repress my emotions from a very early age. And what it taught me was, you don't have to say anything. You can just be quiet and things will still move and no one will do anything. And so I would just put my fingers in my mouth and I would just go quiet.
Okay.
So that habit carried to my adulthood, and so compounded issues that I just repressed. Every time there was something, I'd be like, it's okay, let's move on. And it's okay, let's move on. But then there came that time when I was now fractured. I was dying inside, and I was crying out on the inside, and I couldn't even hear myself. So that was the breaking point, I think, when I noticed that if I don't even pay attention to myself, who do I expect to pay attention to me?
I think it's also important to note, viewers, as you're listening to the show, life will happen to you, and it will happen to you in different ways, and sometimes in the most challenging ways. And Pain is a voice. That voice many times is expressed through our emotions. Are you listening to yourself? What are those emotions speaking to you? Is it disappointment? Is it disapproval? Is it anger? All those things are very normal because they are part of how you were made by God. And even for believers as well, God is able to handle all your emotions and your feelings. There are no emotions which are bad before Him. There are no feelings which are not accepted before Him. It's okay to allow yourself to be able to feel the things that you're experiencing. And that is also part of what is called processing your emotions. Lindsey will carry on with what you're just sharing now in the next segment. Viewers, let's take a short break. Viewers, welcome back to our show, Wholeness with Naomi.
I used a couple of tools. I'm a researcher, so I read around just looking for tools. I said, I'm not an expert. Let me look around for some tools. So the first book I read was from this lady called Lucia Capacchioni. So she would say, try to remember the most traumatic moment in your life. Just go back. Remember it. What were you wearing? Who was with you? What were they doing? What were you doing? How did you feel at that moment? So I began to notice one thing, that when I visited a trauma, in my memory it was so big because it happened to me at that age. And I started to ask myself a question that, do traumas stay the same when you're now older, when you view it from an older lens?
What did you see?
Sometimes they were exacerbated because of the age where they happened at. So because of that, I started to write letters to my younger self as an older person. And I started to explain things that my younger self wouldn't have understood. Like I told you that my dad would have a lot of people in the house. That was him being generous. But my younger self felt robbed of attention, of time. So when I write to that person who's younger, who's smaller, who's got a less understanding of what's going on, I kind of dissimulate the situation and make it smaller by saying, but do you see, he still loved you, he did this, and I'll be proud of you because you made it this far. But look at it this way. So you're not reliving the trauma as such, you're dissimulating it. You're removing the painful parts of the memory by giving it an opportunity to be seen by an adult.
This is quite a powerful personal journey that you walk, Miss Lindsey. And I'm actually glad that this is something that you were able to walk, and you're also in a position to be able to share it with others as well, without experiencing the emotions that you felt maybe at younger ages, the shame, the guilt, the other things that you experienced, but you're able to share it, and it's also a tool that other people are able to use as they navigate through life. And I think even viewers, as you're watching, this is something for you to also just reflect on. Are there areas in your life where you experienced pain or where you feel pain? It comes in many different ways, and as I indicated earlier on, sometimes it's expressed through emotions. But for you to be able to get in touch with it, sometimes you need to be able to go back to your childhood. Regardless of the stage that you are in at life, it's possible, it's doable for you to be able to go back and look through life through the lens of that child, where you are currently, and for you to be able to process it, and for it to also have meaning to you. That is what will enable you to be able to get a step further in the healing journey. It's so easy to go through life putting things under the carpet, because sometimes it's difficult to be able to deal with life. And I do think that many times people do that because they don't know how to be able to check the things out and be able to process them. But there are so many different things that you can use to process emotions, even on a day-to-day basis as you're going through life. Journaling, which she indicated, is one way. Having time to yourself is another way. Taking a walk, thinking through life, writing letters, which she was mentioning, is something which is quite profound in this journey. We actually get to write letters to yourself at that particular stage of life that you may be addressing where you are currently. And what's important, viewers, to note is that this journey is not sometimes as easy. It may look like a step forward and sometimes 10 steps behind. Yeah. But what is important is to engage in it and to keep on trying. How can I best do this? How can I make it work? Do join us for the next episode. In the meantime, continue in wholeness. Thank you.